Greg Clydesdale. Greg, sit. How's that? Ah, the timing, awesome. I don't think I've ever seen someone turn up just at the moment.
Well, I'll take the opportunity to
please take a
sing
seat.
and dance. And...
Good evening and welcome.
Hello, I've got a PowerPoint that I think someone's meant to be loading up. I think it's going to come up here if we got...
She's probably just doing it as we speak.
Yep,
That's
people
right.
are doing things. I saw it for a moment. Here we go.
It's on its way.
Good one. Yep, it's good. Thank you, whoever is doing that. I heard a voice. Okay, I've got 3 minutes, so I suppose I better get straight into it.
Correct, yeah.
My expertise is economic. I'm an economist. My expertise is economic growth, but I'm different to other economists in that I draw a lot on psychology and history. And that includes, you can see my latest book, which is coming out later this year, is on policies for economic growth. I'm interested in why policies fail. You'll see a book there on human nature. I'm also interested in psychological barriers to good efficient decision making. You know, we like to think that we're rational, but our ideologies can really restrict the way we perceive information. We often follow paradigms very strongly. We're not as rational as we think we are. And we're at our weakest when we really strongly believe in an ideology. Looking at the transport policies and climate change, we want to reduce oil use. That's our goal. We want to reduce oil use. So the first thing I did is I contacted the Littleton Port Company to see what's happening with oil consumption. And I asked for 2013 and 2019, and our oil consumption hasn't gone down. In fact, it's increased by 11.13% in that 6 years. Of course, our population had grown in that time, so I thought, well, let's take into account a per capita basis. And even that, on a per capita basis, you know, our city's contribution to climate change has actually increased. It hasn't been reduced, it's increased. So I thought, well, what about number of cars? Because the council and our urban planners have tried to stop cars from going into the city, use buses and bikes, and our car use has almost doubled in 6 years. And that's on a per capita basis. You'll see, you know, 0.485 cars per person to 0.7. When I try to look, you know, these are broad figures, but when I'm trying to look at evidence that this council's policies fighting climate change have worked, you actually begin to wonder maybe if council's policies have actually been counterproductive. You know, if a business gets 80% of its custom by car, even if you raise that 20% to 25%, they're not going to favour bikes and buses. They're going to favour their car passengers. And by making it hard for cars to travel and park in the city, planners thought they were discouraging cars from driving into the city. In reality, they were discouraging business from returning to the city, which made it hard for that bus hub and spoke system to work. And so businesses remain dispersed, and dispersal of business favours cars and oil. So in other words, council policies has actually favoured the use of cars and oil. Instead of discouraging cars into the CBD, we should have been encouraging them, because with every car that comes to the city, there's also a person busing, it's easier for a person to bike. Policies that seek to return us to the days of bicycles and buses, we need to be forward-looking. Buses can't compete with cars in terms of time, carrying load, routes, and I think the council has failed because it hasn't been getting inside of the head of business people. And I wonder if to some extent they've been ignoring them. We now have wide empty footpaths, fewer businesses in town, fewer customers, fewer pedestrians, empty bike racks everywhere. Very wide footpaths, empty, businesses struggling for customers, empty cycle racks everywhere. I think it's time we need to move away from this climate change frenzy, and it's time for reason. It's time for reason. Look at the goals. Instead of reducing use of oil, the city has increased it even on a per capita basis. Instead of reducing car ownership, it has dramatically increased. Bus and passenger goals of 20 million a year, they got 11 million, 17 million pre-earthquake. The city remains unbuilt. The city has failed because of the ideology it's based on, and I think you guys need to take a move back to the basis, rethink the assumptions on which you're making decisions, and take another breath before you commit more money to policies based on buses and bikes.
Thank you. That's perfect timing. We'll leave it at that, and thank you very much. No, thank you. Thank you, Greg.
Good one. Thank you. Sorry, what was that?